So I got to tell this little story about Dad. Any of you who are my age or around my age, you might have memories of sitting around in the living room and watching home slides on, oh, there's the geese. There's the geese family. Dad would set up the projector. He'd put all the little slides. It was a carousel, they called it. And you put all your little slides, your pictures, and then he'd set up the screen. This would take half an hour. It was a major production. If you will, bear with me while I remember the agony of Dad trying to get the slides to go in the right way, because they had to go in like upside down to be projected right side up or something like that. And he'd get them wrong, and my mom would be like, Ray, that's my dad's name, Ray, come on. For crying out loud, Pauline, I'm trying to get it. So he'd be, it'd be summer or whatever, he'd be sweating, and the picture would come out, but it'd be crooked, or it'd be upside down, right? And, how often, and then finally he'd get it right, and it would go, cha-ching, cha-ching. You'd have to literally press down on the thing, cha-ching, and it would go, ch-ching. I go through my phone like boop, 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 boop. I'm editing, I'm posting it. So those of us, in the middle these days, we remember that agony. We remember what it was like not to have these incredible technological advancements. And our parents were the ones who, they also navigated some big changes in life. And some of them, they've chosen not to jump on the train with, they just let the train go. But that doesn't mean that they don't still have valuable things to teach us, right? In fact, maybe sometimes I think, I consider how fortunate my boys are to have had, to have had both sets of grandparents, until fairly recently when we lost my father-in-law. But, my husband didn't have his grandparents growing up. And, I think that wisdom is so important. So what I wanted to say, also, something that I always think about with Taurus is about money, security. I think it's something my dad always taught me. I keep on my dresser at home a little jar They just called me. I'll call them back. It's Dad calling. You can't make this stuff up. I keep these little coins. See? I don't know if you can see that. It's a, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is a peseta. Yep, peseta. From when I went to Spain, 1985. They're probably saying, where are you? I'm supposed to go over. Yeah. So, when I first, started with my business, doing these videos and writing the book, they left me a voicemail. That's nice. I went to the pawn shop, whatever, and I tried to trade these in, because I've been making money out of selling things. I go take stuff from my folks and people and stuff I can't use anymore, and I've been selling them. And that's how I've been kind of making my living while I'm getting my business going. I've sold quite a few books, and thank you to everybody who's bought one. But in the early days, I'm setting up my website, doing this. I'm laying a foundation for what I plan, in the future, the kinds of work that I feel I'm meant to do here. So I got these pesetas, and the guy says, he looks at them, he's like, these aren't worth anything. Well, they have euros now. He's like, can't give you anything. So I keep them. I use them for things like, money, little money, magic tricks. When I make intentions to the universe, and I use this money, I put it out in various, regions of my house that are the money areas of my house. I use them kind of like play money. But I'm not gonna, the value in this, it doesn't come from what society will give me, what external world recognizes. These pesetas I got when I was on the journey of a lifetime in Spain, and learning and living in Spain. And those memories are priceless. That's what this represents. I call my folks, or they call me, and they say, hey, I'm doing these great videos, and people are watching them, I hope. And I'm planning, I'm writing more books, I'm writing, building my website. And so inevitably the question comes from one of my earth sign parents, so how much money have you made from this? Is this producing a good income for you? Why are you doing this? What are you doing it for? I said, it's the experience, and it has a value to my soul that goes beyond what society recognizes. I'm out here in the woods because it nourishes me and gives me a security, a deep sense of meaning and purpose that nothing in the material world, with its fleeting currency and its fleeting, sense of security, could ever give me. It's of a value that is not immediately visible, but is felt. So it's like, how do you measure? How do you describe? Now, my dad's not really a word guy. It's as if I would say to him, Dad, how much money did you make when you held your first grandchild for the first time? How can you describe that? And how much was that worth to you? He would say, because we've got pictures and video of him holding Brennan, and the look of wonder that was on his face, as if he has never been happier in his whole life, except for, when I was born. But from what I heard, that he went home and went to sleep that night. Heated himself up a can of soup, and I don't know. Mom said, get out of here. I don't know. But the dads back then weren't encouraged to stick around in the 60s, I guess. And he went home and went to sleep. Anyway, but that first day, he came and held Brennan, and, and said, welcome to the world. We're happy you're here. Something to that extent. If I were to say to him, did you make any money? What was that for? Why did you do that? And he would look at me like I was, I had two heads or something. Like, what do you mean? That's the most incredible experience. The first time I became a grandfather. What do you mean? Why did I do it? Or what's it for? Of course. It's a beloved memory. It's a treasured memory. The soul keeps track of those things, not the accountant. It's like, how did you feel walking me down the aisle at my wedding? Finally. We had rehearsal, They said, okay, the organ is going to play this song, the organist is going to play this song, and then, and then you walk your daughter down the aisle. So the day comes, they start playing the song. It's like 90 degrees, in the church, and everybody's looking, all the bridesmaids have come. My husband's waiting at the altar, the priest is waiting and smiling, and they keep waiting and smiling and looking, and like, did she change her mind? Why isn't she coming down the aisle? That was my last chance. I could have made a break for it. And my dad doesn't move. He's standing there, and he's like, is this the song? Is this the song? He had to press the buzzer or something. There was a buzzer that had to be pressed, and then he walked me down the aisle. So, it's like something comes over you and you're frozen. You have that experience where you're supposed to go out on stage, right? And you just freeze. Like my cousin during the Dancing Poodles. I had to go back and pull her up to the front of the stage. She was frozen in it, like a deer in the headlights. I don't know what happened with him that day. He overthought. I said, Dad, it's time. Like, maybe he didn't want to let his little girl go. I don't know. But there definitely was a moment there. Maybe he was saying, you could still get out of this if you want. You want to go through with this? You could just go back. Just live your life. I don't know. I wonder sometimes what happened. But, so that's another story. But, when I first published my book, I said, I didn't hear anything from him. No words. Finally, I said, Dad, did you read my book? He says, yeah. Yeah. And I said, so what was your impression? What did you think? He said he was humbled to be mentioned in the same paragraph as Mr. Rogers. Because I would say how Dad would come home and, I'd be happy to see him, and he'd go upstairs and I'd watch him. He'd go into his closet, shut the door. He'd go in with his suit, tie, loosened, shirt, jacket, from work, over his shoulder. And he'd come out and he was Dad. He'd have his, I imagine he'd toss his shoes in the air. He'd come out with his sneakers and his casual dad pants and shirt and a sweater, buttoned up. To my eyes, he was like Superman. He'd go change his clothes and he'd come out and he was Dad, super Dad, able to soothe upset tummies in a single bound with Coke syrup or whatever. He was endlessly patient when I would say, when I couldn't get to sleep, and I'd say, Dad, am I ever going to get to sleep? And he'd say, yes. And then he'd go back in the den, sit down and watch his movie. And it would happen back and forth. I went through a period where I would kind of get like really, I don't know, when I was little, I didn't like to be in my room by myself. It was scary. And I would call out. He'd come in and reassure me and go back and watch his show. And what used to drive my mom nuts is he'd watch a movie and then like 10 minutes before the end of it, he'd go to bed. And my mother would be like, why do you do that? Don't you want to know how it ends? And he'd say, I know how it ends. I think he just did it to drive her up the freaking wall. Because he's just, that's my dad, Ray, you missed the turn. You got to go that way. My mother was like the GPS lady. You got to go this way. That's where I got that from. I'm going to go this way. So he might have lacked a little patience sometimes with me, but you know, the way he would show love would be those things, you know, the nurturing ways. He'd change. He'd be super dad, and you know, and when mom wasn't able to, you know, he'd surprise me. He'd pick out something at the store, you know, like in recent years when she wasn't able to. He'd buy me a dress or a top or something, and she'd say, "Dad picked this out for you." And I'd be like, "Wow, you know, it would be kind of nice." Or he'd write a card. I can tell that Dad picked it out, you know, like for my husband's birthday, because it was a masculine card. It wasn't one of those, "Oh, we love our son-in-law." It was one of those, "I'm glad we have a man like you in the family," kind of cards, you know. Because really, when somebody's little girl goes off and marries some guy, you know, he kind of takes over the dad role in a way, sometimes. So the fact that my dad feels comfortable with that, you know, shows me he cares. Schlepping my stuff at college up 3 flights of stairs, and you know, a hallway that reeks of beer. Bringing my typewriter. Back in the days when we had to use typewriters. Oh my gosh. Why do you have to bring so many clothes? I'd be like, "Dad, there's just one season." Poor Dad. Reading me the comics, you know. Reading the comics. You just look at the pictures. Yeah. Showing me how to plant a garden. That was a dad thing. You know. I'd pick the flowers, I'd go out, I'd behead them. Bring them in. Here you go. So we have our parents, and how do we return that love? And this confused me over the years. Helicopter. It's not by going and being like my dad or trying to please him by being like him and following his exact footsteps. No. The best way to honor him is to be truly myself, which is a combination of a lot of things. They're sending the helicopter after me. I better get over there. We can't hover over our children. We have to let them grow, right? So on that note, I'm going to give it a rest for the week. Happy birthday, Dad. And happy Scorpio full moon. I hope you have a beautiful week, and that you have lots to celebrate. Lots of love. Till next week. Zazoo Plazz, signing out. Take care. Bye-bye.